Welcome back. You're watching Luck on Sunday. Main news point this week threatens to undermine racing in a way that it is rarely undermined, even with what we had to endure with the flu vaccination situation a couple of weeks ago. And that is that the prize money situation, particularly the prize money that is on offer for Class 4, 5 and 6 races at the ARC racecourses, has become an untenable situation for many trainers who are choosing to boycott races. Now, we have been in similar situations before, but this one seems to be more intense because the mechanics of it are that in order to unlock levy funding for lower grade races, the racecourses have to show their own commitment to those races to the tune of a certain amount. And because ARC are maintaining a business plan by which they can't do that, because they say of the closure of betting shops, which has reduced their media rights payments, then that will not unlock the levy funding to go with it. So essentially it's a double blow to prize money for those grassroots races at the lower end. Now, Rafe Beckett is a member of the National Trainers Federation Council. He's not necessarily speaking for them today, but he is a man who has always had and does have strong views on this subject. And somebody tweeted me this morning, Rafe, and said, we've been talking about this for 25 years, but we haven't actually yet come up with a solution as to fundamentally where the blame lies for what we perceive to be poor prize money at the lower end and what we're actually going to do about it. So what are we going to do about it?
Well, the fault lies in, I think everybody is of the opinion, the fault lies somewhere between the bookmakers and the racecourses. As a result of the OFT ruling in 2004, which was instigated by William Hill, the OFT gave racecourses greater autonomy.
In putting what fixtures they wanted on?
Putting what fixtures they wanted on. Unfortunately, when the programme grew exponentially, the regulator didn't lease the fixtures to the racecourses. They gave them, and that is why we are where we are.
So, is the simple solution not simply to say, right, let's just chop off this portion of poor performing fixtures, and we'll have more competitive racing for better money?
That is an answer. The problem with that is, Nick, is that the BHA is made up of a tripartite agreement. The racecourses, the regulator and the horsemen. And over both the last fixtures and funding review, i.e. what's going to happen for the following year, the racecourses have asked for more fixtures and the BHA have agreed. The horsemen, every year over the last 2 years, have disagreed. So the regulator and the racecourses are going one way and the horsemen are going another.
That's a slight shift from the horsemen's policy in 2004-05, isn't it? So then the horsemen were not happy to have the fixture list reduced. Now would you say that it is broadly agreed, there's a consensus amongst horsemen that fixtures should?
Well, I can say that the ROA and the NTF have argued against an expansion of the fixture list.
And from the BHA's point of view and from the racecourses' point of view, why is an increased fixture list good? Is that simply because of the money they're receiving from licensed betting offices per race?
Yeah, they get paid. They won't admit to it, but in course of conversations, we know from conversations with various jockey club racecourse people that they get £950 per runner per race. That's what they were getting last year. Now, are we expected to believe that ARC, who, let's face it, have shown to be the most ruthless outfit there is, are we expected to believe that their media rights deal is so different from jockey club racecourses? I think it's very hard. That's a giant leap of faith. Equally, jockey club racecourses have committed to keep their funding, their contributions to prize money at a level this year,
which unlocks the levy funding for the grassroots racing. But if you're Martin Cruddas, who is running ARC, and I've known Martin for many years, and
he's a friend of mine.
Yeah, and one thing I know about him is that he's a man who is passionate about horse racing. He loves horse racing.
Yeah.
But
I would argue that his depth of knowledge of the sport is lacking.
Yeah, maybe, but he is someone who enjoys the sport.
Absolutely.
He's not simply a bean counter or a number cruncher.
Absolutely. He has horses in training. You know, he's a supporter. I agree.
Yeah. Now, his responsibility, like the chief executive of any public limited company, is to do the best by his shareholders, surely. And why is that fundamentally unreasonable? If you came from outside racing and just looked at it in the round, you'd have a hard job convincing people that Martin Cruddas wasn't doing his job well by attempting to work to the budget.
Okay, well, let's look at it another way. Mm-hmm. The finance director of ARC said that the flu shutdown cost them between 1.5 and 2 million. Mm-hmm. That was 13 meetings. They said yesterday, Martin said yesterday, that the impact was minimal from those 2 races not going ahead. Well, you can't have it both ways. You know, in the depths of winter, in the middle of winter, the fixtures they had, they wouldn't have been getting a lot through the gates those days. What's that work out of? Conservative estimate, that cost them 100 grand yesterday, not to run those 2 races. On a Saturday, on the 3rd biggest day of that racetrack, of their busiest racetracks year, I think it's hard to believe that you know, runners mean money for them.
So he says he's going to hold firm, and he thinks that other racecourse groups, presumably Jockey Club Racecourses and the larger and smaller independents, will follow suit when they have to. When the economic realities bite for them, they will have to follow ARC's lead. Do you buy into that?
No. No. None of us buy into that, you know. Racecourses have been scalping owners and trainers ever since the OFT ruling. For 150 years, racecourses were kept away from the running of the sport. And then from 2004 onwards, we've had to dance to their tune. Mm. And trainers as individuals are saying enough. We've had enough. I got an email yesterday from one of my longest standing owners saying, I don't want any more entries at ARC Racecourses. Independent. I hadn't spoken to him for 2 months.
And is this someone who's owned horses for
a long time?
And is it a prominent owner? Somebody?
Not a prominent owner, but a guy who's had a lot of horses over the years and for a long time. And we'll see more of that.
Okay, so how united a front is this on the part of the trainers? How much havoc can you wreak?
Well, first of all, there's no collusion. All right, you know, Martin's taking SIS to the High Court for collusion with SIS colluding with the bookmakers. So there's no collusion, but I'd like to see him take the trainers to the High Court. 2 collusion cases on the go at one time. We'd love to see that. I'm sure the sport would.
So you say there's no collusion, but there's got to be some kind of cooperation to affect total abandonment.
But there
will always be people who will run.
Okay, well,
there'll be people who run for 500 quid.
Absolutely, but there's the depth of feeling, I think, among as disparate group as trainers are and individuals as they are, operators, individuals. You're really telling me that I'm going to get David Ellsworth, of all people, the great David Ellsworth, the greatest dual-purpose trainer this country's ever produced, a man who's been trained for 45 years or whatever he's trained. You're really telling me that I'm going to tell David not to run that horse tomorrow or Saturday. But what I can tell you is this. That 18-runner novice took half an hour. That's all it took.
To whittle down to basically
half
nothing.
an hour.
Yeah.
3 calls to two octogenarian trainers who wouldn't be on WhatsApp. That's all. And that's what they are going to, that's what ARC are going to be dealing with. This is not, you know, they can write all the letters they want to the NTF and the ROA, threatening letters. They can go ahead and do that till they're blue in the face. But this is individuals, people who aren't even members of the NTF, or the ROA or whatever, going, we've had enough. We've had enough. To run that race yesterday, those races yesterday, for £4,500, when the same race was worth the same or more 25 years ago. I looked up the other day, Nick, and I said it to Martin Cruddas in an email. The most bet on flat handicap last year was the Lincoln. I went to work for Jimmy Fitzgerald in September 1990, 6 months after Avishtar won the Lincoln. It was worth 48,000. Avishtar won 48,000 that year when he won the Lincoln. The Cambridgeshire, broadly similar handicap, not as much money bet on it last year as the Lincoln. The Cambridgeshire was worth 61,000 that year. Last year, the Cambridgeshire was worth 99,000, and the Lincoln was still worth 61,000. And I was referred to as a senior trainer. That was my first job in racing. Consistently, they've been cutting it to the quick for as long as they possibly could, ARC, and trainers as individuals have had enough.
Now, we've been here before. We've had incarnations of this before.
Yeah, there was a boycott at Leicester,
and remember,
in 2010, and look at Leicester's prize money since.
And you'll be familiar with the tariff system.
Yeah, during the tariff.
During the tariff system, which ended. Did that end satisfactorily?
Well, Leicester's prize money has been in line with most other independents ever since. For example, Worcester, they had a boycott, didn't they? Charlie Mann and Nigel Twiston-Davies and all of them, they all organised a boycott a couple of years later, or a year or two later. But the point I would make is that they can't have it both ways, you know. Art cannot have it both ways, and I'm not going to labour the point, but we've had enough.
I'm very conscious that we have to declare our interest here. This channel essentially is owned by Racecourse Media Group. Jockey Club is the biggest shareholder of that. We are not owned in any part by ARC. And I'm very conscious that when you talk about the racecourses running the sport, we're not just talking about ARC. I mean, I don't want to put them in a box when all racecourses in this country have a degree of culpability for a reduction in prize money levels.
I agree. Absolutely agree with that. But, you know, they and the racecourses run by the Sandersons, for example, have been the bottom of the pile consistently.
How confident are you that you can hold the racecourses to ransom significantly to make a change and to get this show back on the road again? Because at the moment this is going to cost racing an awful lot of money, and that's to no one's benefit, is it? Well, it's already costing us money. You know, I mean, the people who, you know, we employ 45 people, but when I started, I employed 2. You know, those guys with 10, 15, 20, 30 horses are being squeezed every year by the likes of ARC and other racecourse groups, and we have to look after them. You know, this is about the sport, the horsemen looking after each other. The racecourses want to be seen as stakeholders. They haven't acted like stakeholders for a long time, in my view. You know, they don't put anything back in. They're venues. You know, if you go and put, you know, they're taking 2/3 of the media rights money, 2/3 of it. We're getting 1/3 back into prize money. If you go and put on a West End production in the Haymarket Theatre, and the Haymarket Theatre says, well, we're going to keep 2/3 of it, the production wouldn't go ahead, would it? And this is no different, you know. Racecourses want to act like stakeholders. This is their opportunity. You know, we're providing the show. They're just providing the theatre, no more. Rafe, I appreciate your thoughts on that, and I thank you for coming in. I'm hoping that you'll stay with us for a little longer, because other things have happened in the sport this week. Sure. And I know you're a man who will share his views happily on all those things. Rafe, thank you.